Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sutton's Days. Today, we're going to chat about my 2022 canning plan. I love December. I love December because December is when I plan for the upcoming year, right? When I set my goals, my intentions, I fill out my new planner. This is my new planners. Okay, I admit I have a couple. Anyway, so that is when I get everything set and ready to jump into the new year. Okay. I'm just one of those people that loves the whole new year thing. Anyway, so we have our 2022 canning plan. And I took some time, I put this together. I really thought out about how much of what I want to can for the upcoming year. A couple of reasons for this. As you know, for the last 2 seasons now, it has been very difficult to get canning supplies, specifically lids, sometimes jars, and then other canning supplies. By creating a canning plan, okay, you can map out how much of each supply you're going to need. So by the time you're done with your canning plan, you know approximately how many lids you're going to need, whether that's the 2-piece metal lids, whether that's Tatler or Harvest Guard, right? You're going to know if you need any extra jars. You're going to be able to take a look at all of that. And we'll walk through that a little bit more as we go on. But there's a link down below for you. I created a printable PDF so that you can create your own canning plan. So feel free to download that and start filling it out. Hopefully, I spur on some thought about what you can put into it. You can come up with your own stuff. I would love to know the numbers that you come up with. Leave it in the comments section down below if you want to share. And let's jump into the canning plan. Okay. So 2022, this is our canning plan. Yes, it is. And let me get down here. So I broke it up by categories, right? So the first one is meats. And, I love having shelf-stable protein. It is one of my favorite things to can always and forever. So this year, you'll notice there's no corned beef listed in this, plan because I canned up so much this year. I really don't need to can anymore for the upcoming year. So we're just going to focus on the other meats. Ground sausage is one of them. Now, typically, I only can up the ground sausage that we get from the pigs that we raise, okay? And that, that's great to have. But more and more, I find that I'm supplementing my ground beef with ground sausage. I love the additional flavor that it lends to it. It's just really good. So this year, I want to can up some more ground sausage. So we're going to be making our own sausage. We're going to be using the pig that we processed. And then we are also, if we need to hit that 50 mark, we're going to be purchasing commercially available sausage, okay? Jimmy Dean or whoever, right? So 50 pints of sausage is the goal for 2022. Next, we're going to do ugly chicken. And here at Sutton's Daze, we're all about our ugly chicken, aren't we? And we go through typically about 100 pints a year of ugly chicken. We use it for lunches. We use it for dinners. We use it for family dinners. We use it all the time. We throw it in soups, you name it. So 100 pints of ugly chicken is on the thing. And that's just to backfill what we go through, okay? Because typically that's what I have. So typically that's what we're going to backfill. Now, ground beef, I normally only can up about 50 pints of ground beef a year. But I'm finding that we're going through more of it. And I want to have some extra up there because I normally run out of ground beef before, the end of the year. So I want to make sure that I've got enough to legitimately get me through an entire year. And so we're going to do 100 pints of ground beef. Now, the next one, oh, be still my heart, is beef roast. I want to can up 50 pints of beef roast. Now, the best part about beef roast when you're canning it, okay, is that it doesn't matter what cut it is. Any cut of beef will come out tender and delicious and just fall apart so good. So it really doesn't matter if you're buying the cheapest cut of beef that you can. Once you can it, it's a game changer. It's a completely different thing coming out. You have beautiful tender beef that you swear is the higher end cut. So you can get those manager specials. You can get the cheaper versions, when you find them on sale, and you can fill those jars. You will not be disappointed. So 50 pints of beef roast. Now, next, we're going to go for the Mississippi pork roast. Okay. And, when I canned it this last time, I did it in 1.5 jars. Well, it turns out that a 1.5 jar is not quite enough for Phil and I. So the difference with hot pack versus raw pack is that with the hot pack, you're par cooking it first, cutting it up into chunks, and then putting it in there with a broth, right? So technically, you're getting less meat in the jar than if you're raw packing it. And I discovered that, with a Mississippi pork roast, that in order to give Phil and I, a plate of food that we're happy with, that we need them to be in quarts. Okay, so we're going to be canning up 25 quarts of Mississippi pork roast. So good. Oh my goodness. I'm going to backfill my salmon. I didn't get any put up this year, but that's okay because I still had some on my shelves. So I'm going to backfill with 10 pints of salmon. That right there is going to cost me about $90 if the price doesn't go up significantly. So, we don't get salmon on sale here. It just doesn't happen. But when the coho salmon is harvested and brought in, then I normally get about 10 pounds of salmon to put into jars, and I love it. Now, for me, when I say stock, you see stock here on the list. More often than not, what I'm putting up is bone broth. Okay, so I want to put up a mix of chicken and beef and turkey broth. Okay, and so I want to make that in quarts because we use quite a bit of it, and I find over the last couple of years that I don't have enough on the shelf. So I want to make sure that I can get my hands on some bones, and I want to get 50 quarts of various kinds of broth or stock up on the shelves. That will include some onion stock, but I'm still leaving stock up with the meats. Okay, so right there with just the meat part of it, we're looking at 310 pints and 75 quarts. That's a nice little chunk there to keep me busy and out of trouble, right? But then we're going to bump into the vegetables. Now you're going to see lower numbers on the vegetables because there's a larger variety, and you want to be able to rotate those varieties. These are the things that we eat the most of. So I'm going to be doing beets and pickled beets, mushrooms, 3 kinds of carrots, plain carrots, the ones in onion stock, and the glazed carrots. Those are all so good. And then lima beans, green beans, black beans, pinto beans, and then we're going to jump up to quarts. What? I know, right? There's more quarts in this plan than there has been in previous years. Because I've discovered there are some things that really do just work better for us if they are in quart jars. So the baked beans, the whole tomatoes, and the tomato sauce are all going to be in quart jars. Just works better for us. The homemade rotel, yeah, you know it. We're going to be doing 30 pints of that. And then my goal for potatoes is 26 quarts. I'm bumping it up to quarts. 26 quarts of potatoes and 26 quarts of sweet potatoes. I've just decided it's easier to have them in the larger because those are things that both Phil and I eat. And so, being able to just grab that 1 jar versus 2 is a good thing. So that's a total of 350 pints and 112 quarts of vegetables going up on the shelf next year. Pardon me. And now we're going to jump into fruits. I love me some fruit. Same deal goes here. We have discovered over time that applesauce, apple pie filling, sliced apples, blueberry pie filling, and peaches all work better for us when they are in quart jars. So that's what we're going to be doing. And then cranberry orange sauce, cranberries, and fruit cocktail. Phil requested that I can up fruit cocktail this coming year. So we're going to do 24 pints of that. And I figured pints because, the cans that you get from the store are actually under a pint. So this will give us a little bit more than we're used to getting, only it's that real good home canned stuff. So I'm really looking forward to doing all of that. So that's 60 additional pints and 95 additional quarts of fruits going up on the shelves. Now, I don't do a lot of pre-made, meals in jars. But one of the things that I am doing is chicken soup. For the most part, I find it easier to make soups. Like I'll take potatoes, canned potatoes, and turn it into potato soup. I'll take beans and mix them in with ham and make ham and bean soup. It's easier in my mind, to do that and grab the ingredients that are already canned up. But chicken soup, my friends, chicken soup is one of those comfort foods. It's one of those, it's a gray day outside, or you don't feel good, or, whatever the case may be. And I just want some chicken soup. And I found when I didn't can it that I really missed it. So we're going to can up 40 quarts of chicken soup. Now that's going to be simple, easy meals for those cold, gray, nasty days when you're not feeling so good maybe, and you just want some comfort food. It's a hug in a jar. It's a hug in a jar. That's what it is. And then I can put noodles in with it, when I heat it up, or I can make dumplings to go with it. And we have, chicken and dumpling soup, but 40 quarts of chicken soup. Now, my plan for my jam plan, there you go. My jam plan for 2022. I do jams and jellies primarily to sell. That's what I do with them. So This is my list, and they're all going into half pints. So I'm going to have winter jam, caramel apple jam, blueberry jalapeno, tipsy blueberry, tipsy plum, apricot pepper, fiesta jam. Let's see, where are we? Peach pepper, strawberry jalapeno, maple apple jam, and of course, carrot cake jam. We're going to be doing all of those. I just averaged 25 of each. That's a couple, cases of each. And then with the caramel apple jam, because it is so hugely popular, I'm going to end up doing 50 of those. That's in total 350 half pints of jam. The difference with this is going to be that with these, I'm going to have to buy the jars. Okay. So that's the biggest difference between the jam and everything else. But now when we go to the top, that means that I'm going to be canning up 1,070 pints and 322 quarts of food. That's 1,392 jars of food total for my 2022 plan. None of this is, written in cement. It's totally a fluid document that I can change, I can update, I can increase, decrease, add different things that I may have forgotten, onto the list. But right now, as it stands, it's 1,392 jars of food. So right off the top, this tells me this is what I'm going to need. Okay. Lids. I'm going to need to have on hand in stock in my home. I'm going to need 1,050 lids. 1,050 lids. Okay. That's a lot of lids, my friends. That's a lot of lids. So regardless of what kind of lid you use, whether it's the 2-piece metal lids or Tatler or Harvest Guard, okay, I'm going to need 1,050 lids. Pardon me. But I'm going to need also, in addition to that, I'm going to need 350 jam jars. So I'm going to have to start stocking the stores or figuring out someplace online where I can get a decent deal on 350 jam jars. Now, I don't count that in the lids because they come with lids, right? So I'm all golden there. So that's, all together there. But that's 350 additional jars because I sell this. I don't use my used jars. But the rest of the stuff is the jars that I have, and I have plenty of jars, so I'm not worried about that. And technically right now I have plenty of lids. But I don't want to be left with no lids either. So I am going to continue purchasing lids as I move forward. I apologize. I'm sorry. So what I want to point you to is a couple links that are below in the description box. Okay. One is for the canning plan. I highly encourage you to create your canning plan for 2022. You need to figure out how many people are in your household, how many meals you're looking at. The easiest way for me to do this is figuring there are 7 dinners, every day or every week. Okay. And so out of that, I have 385, which I should take off, 325, not including the stock. Okay. 325 jars of protein that are going to be up on my shelf. So that's just less, that's 40 less-ish, than the days in a year, 365 days in a year. And I'm going to have 325-ish, whatever, jars of meat. Okay. So I'm going to base that because we are carnivores here. We do like our meat, but so that's, that's how I'm going to do that. And I'll rotate that stuff. Now that's not always going to be the case. We're not always going to eat the home canned meat for dinner. Okay. Sometimes we might actually want a hamburger. You can't use, canned ground beef to make a hamburger. So, I'll use some of the stuff out of the freezer, but primarily I want to keep as much as I can in jars that I can still create meals with, and on the shelves that I don't have to worry about the power going out because that's no fun. So I start off with, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and figure out, what are we going to eat on these days? One day a week, we're going to have breakfast for dinner. One day a week, we're going to have chicken. One day we're going to have pork. One day we're going to have fish. One day we're going to have ground beef. So you just kind of work with what you got. Now, if you're one of those people that's going to tell me, oh, but I'm so spontaneous. Okay, I got it. Fine. But, it gives you an idea that if you were to stick to a plan, this is what you would be doing. Okay. Even if you have chicken twice in a week, which we often do. Then you figure out the same thing for vegetables. Now, I'm not saying to pair everything up now. Don't make a menu plan for a year unless you're really bored and have a lot of time. But understand that you're going to rotate vegetables. You're going to have green beans one day, corn another day, beets one another day, so you're going to rotate these all in and out. And then there's the ingredients that you use to create other things, like say the whole tomatoes or the tomato sauce for any of your pasta dishes or anything like that. You're going to use those too. So it's a great way to figure out, how many meals you can make for 365 days with jars. Now, when it comes to the fruits, I don't pay attention so much. And soup's kind of an extra, thing. Fruit is one of those bonuses, like, oh, wow, we've got canned apples. Let's make something for dessert. Okay. So we came up with 1,392 jars for the entire year. If you download this printable PDF that's included in the link below for your own canning plan, I would love to hear how many jars you come up with. Tell me how many jars you came up with and what size your family is, This is primarily based around Phil and I, with the understanding that once a week or so, we are having family dinners where our numbers, almost triple. So that kind of includes all of that, plus the stuff that we have in the freezer. But if you look down below, also, there's going to be a couple links to Dutchman's. Dutchman's is where you can purchase bulk canning lids, the metal ones, okay? Bulk canning lids, regular and smallmouth, or regular and wide mouth. Sorry, I had that backwards. And they're great quality. I have used them for years. I highly recommend them. And you know what? They're available. Yeah, bonus. So I've got a tickle in my throat, so I apologize. But you can start buying them now, because you don't want to wait. With everything going on, 2020, 2021, don't put yourself in the same position you were this year trying to get your supplies. Get them now. Stock up on them now. While the demand is much lower and they're much more available, you can figure out approximately how many lids you're going to need, and you can purchase them ahead of time. Divide it up. They're like under $80 for quite a few regular canning lids. I can't remember the exact amount right now. Okay, so I'm figuring I'm going to need at least 4 of those. So I'll get 1 a month. Okay, perfect. That fits nicely in your budget. You can kind of move things around and you're stocked up and you don't have to mess around with this nonsense. This also works for things like pectin. As most of you know, I have moved over exclusively to Pomona's Universal Pectin. Highly recommend it. I love the product it puts out. You have to use much less sugar, which is a huge selling point for me, right? And so I'm going to be stocking up on the bulk Pomona's Pectin. I'll put a link down below for it. And figuring out how many packages of pectin I need to create 350 jars of jam, right? So I'll get that math all figured out. There's a way to do it. And that way I know that I will have enough pectin in stock by purchasing that the same way that I'm purchasing the lids, and devoting a certain amount of my budget, my monthly budget, towards the supplies that I'm going to need. I never did see an availability issue with things like canning salt, or clear gel, or that kind of stuff. So that would depend on what you ran across in your area. For us here in my rural area, canning lids were a major problem for a lot of people. I saw local friends on Facebook saying, where can I get canning lids in August? And I didn't want to be the one to tell them that, you should have been thinking about this months ago. So it's something to pay attention to, because I really, really believe it's not going away. I really believe that we're going to continue having the same issues getting hold of the materials that we want and need, at least for the next 3 years. Okay, but definitely for 2022. So take time to plan out what you're going to do. Understand that it's open for change, but it'll give you a roadmap. It'll give you a roadmap to let you know what it is you need to stock up on, so that you can hopefully make that happen before the season hits and the public at large is out there buying it up at the same time, making it harder for us to get our hands on. We don't want that again. It's discouraging. It's not a lot of fun. So I hope that this helps everybody. Be sure to check out the links below for all of the stuff that I've talked about. I'll put links to the playlist that have all of this stuff that I've already canned in it. I hope you check those out. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comment section below or send me an email. I can do either one. And until next time, everybody, please be safe.